Hello and welcome back to the Ascent Cycling Podcast for the daily recap number 1 of our 2021 Tour de France. I'm on my own today, no Joe, just your boy. There might be a few episodes throughout this Tour de France where, it'll be either Joe or just me. So most of the time, the two of us. But yeah, it's going to be quite hard to juggle both podcasts with YouTube and, for Joe's case, work. So yeah, some of the time you might just see me. But it's fine. It's better than nothing, I guess. I just decided I would still give you guys a few minutes to listen onto this stage if you missed the opening stage of the Tour de France, a stage between Brest and Landerneau. So the world champion switching jerseys, going from the rainbow to the yellow jersey of the Tour de France. A dominant performance from Julian Alaphilippe, on which we will, on which I will talk a bit more in the next minutes. But we had a very stage 1-like Tour de France. But today's stage was sadly what you would expect from an opening stage of a Tour de France. And I think it was Purito that just mentioned it on Twitter. When it's not a Tour de France, when the Tour de France doesn't start with a time trial, you often have crashes. And boy, did we have crashes. At first, though, we had a breakaway with Anthony Perez, with Danny Van Poppel, with Ide Helling, with Christian Rodriguez, and with two other riders, I think Frank Bonamour and Connor Swift. My brain is working. And Anthony Perez, Ide Helling looked like the two strongest riders out of that break until Ide Helling decided to literally blitz from the breakaway, go on his own, go solo for 80 kilometers to make sure that he could beat the polka dot jersey coming into tomorrow's stage. And he did. He managed to take the necessary points to make sure that he'll start in a distinctive jersey. Also, combative rider of today's stage will be Ide Helling. And by the time he crossed the summit of the Côte de Saint-Rivoal, I believe, something happened in the peloton. Something that we don't like to see as spectators, as avid fans of cycling. Someone wanted to get some attention from their TV, right? Had a message saying, hi, grandma. Go on, granddad and grandma. And sadly, by watching the camera and not the peloton, crash. Half the peloton gets down, hitting Tony Martin and then the rest of the Jumbo-Visma team. A lot of riders, therefore, go on the ground. You got Julian Alaphilippe called in the incident. You got Primož Roglic, you got Wout van Aert, a lot of riders, Peter Sagan, Marc Hirschi, a lot of guys. And it causes some confusion because you got Deceuninck that decides to pace when Julian comes back, because you still have Ide Helling at the front. Eventually, everyone comes back in the main peloton. Ide Helling just drops because he doesn't have the legs anymore. And it's a full peloton that's heading towards Landerneau. I'm not gonna lie, they didn't look that much intense until the final 10k. You got Ineos taking the lead, you've got Jumbo on the side, and then a crash. A crash happens. I haven't seen actually who triggers the crash, but a massive crash on the right hand side of the road, with a lot of damage because we had Joshua Sütterlin withdrawing following the first incident. And at the time I'm recording this, we've got two more DNFs following the second crash, which I've just mentioned. Ignatius Konovalovas and Cyril Lemoine, but a huge crash. Marc Soler losing up to 26 minutes today. But not mainly, but one of the riders everyone was watching, Christopher Froome. I said like twice on Twitter today that he was back, right? He hadn't been dropped yet. He was ahead of Mathieu van der Poel. Like, was he going for yellow? I'm scared I've jinxed him because the man doesn't look good. He finished the stage because he's got the heart of a champion, but he doesn't look good. And hopefully for Chris and for the future in this race, he can carry on. I'm very skeptical he will though. But yeah, a lot of damage through that crash. We'll take a look at the rest of the classification later on, because the peloton didn't stop after that crash. There was 5 kilometers left or 4 kilometers left, and there was a stage to win in Landerneau. Deceuninck with a huge rhythm at the front at the start of the climb. Davide Ballerini, Casper Asgreen, then 2.5k, Dries de Venance. takes the lead in what was the toughest part of the climb towards Landerneau. He held on for about 400 meters, 400. Julian Alaphilippe, 2K to go, the rainbow jersey, blitzes ahead from the group. No one can follow. You've got Wout van Aert, who maybe thinks about it, but then remembers he's got Primoz Roglic in the team and plays the GC card. Primoz Roglic, who would then attack to try and come back on Julian Alaphilippe. I think Pierre Latour is also one of the riders that attacked. Good to see the rider from Direct Energy. Couldn't do anything today, but he tried. Tadej Pogacar as well, bridging up to Primoz Roglic as Mathieu van der Poel, who had started the climb quite far at the back, which was the reason it was not my main prediction today. Comes back on the two Slovenians. The two Slovenians aren't working together. Everyone bridges up to the Slovenian, but they do not bridge Julian Alaphilippe, who takes his maiden win as the world champion on this Tour de France, switches jerseys, as I said at the beginning, from rainbow to yellow, gets the first teddy bear for his newly born son, and yeah, it was a show of domination, a show of strength today by Julian Alaphilippe. No one could touch him. He attacked at a place I don't think many people had expected him to attack. He attacked with 2K to go, which is a long distance. But yeah, he just held on to, I believe, an 8-second gap over the peloton led by Michael Matthews in P2 and Primoz Roglic in P3, who gets 4 bonus seconds on the rest of the GC contenders. In the same time as Primoz Roglic, for the GC, you will find the likes of Jack Haig, Wilco Kelderman, Tadej Pogacar, Esteban Chaves, I mean, don't give me hope, but he's there, Geraint Thomas, Enric Mas, Rigo Uran, Nairo Quintana, Vincenzo Nibali, potentially. And then 5 seconds after that, you have Richard Carapaz, so I believe we can count him in the same group. But there is a lot of damage today. Starting up with the group at 1 minute 50, you have the likes of Emmanuel Buchmann, who could have been the leader for Borans Grohe in contention with Wilco Kelderman, but mainly Miguel Angel Lopez, who had signed with Movistar to be the key leader on the Tour de France. However, he finds himself 1 minute and 40 seconds behind Enric Mas, a proven top 5 Tour de France finisher. So we'll see what the hierarchy and the strategies now are in the Spanish team. Quite curious to see what the Netflix series and their insights have on what we currently don't know. But Netflix probably knows a bit more than we do. You also have Guillaume Martin losing 1 minute 50. He did say today, or he did say before the Tour de France, he was targeting stages in KOM, but you never want to lose 2 minutes on the stage. Then further behind, 2 minutes 16, Wout Poels, Richie Porte. You've got Simon Yates losing 3 minutes 20, I believe. Valverde, 5 minutes 30. Tao Gegenhardt, 5 minutes 30 for the 2020 winner of the Giro d'Italia. Dan Martin, 5:30. Chris Froome, more, and actually a horrendous day for ISN. Chris Froome lost time. Dan Martin lost 5:30, but mainly the big loser today, Michael Woods, 8 minutes and 49 seconds for the Canadian today. ISN's tour just went from potentially good to absolutely horrendous. Finally, Marc Soler losing 24 minutes wraps up today's peloton. He was the final rider to finish and to cross the line, but a lot of damage already in this opening stage of the Tour de France. And sadly, that's often expected on an opening stage of the Tour de France, as I was saying earlier, and especially in Brittany, where the roads are narrow, the races are intense, and it's the opening stage of the Tour de France. Every rider wants to be there, and I think it creates a sentiment of just a friction, and or like just you've got fuel, right, and you have the match, and the match is the slightest of contact. You want to go up one position, you're taking a risk, you're throwing a match, but the match might not reach the fire. But when it does, it spreads across the entire peloton, and you have a lot of damage today. As I said, it's an opening stage. I expect to have potentially similar things tomorrow. Hopefully not. But it's quite of a similar physiognomy of the race tomorrow by the looks of it. So we may see a few more crashes. But yeah, the fact that the fans are back to the road as well, having had the fans on Tour de France last year, and they make the race. Without the fans, there's no race. There's no cycling without the fans. It is one of the only sports where you can actually attend the race without paying, which is the beauty of it. But sadly, there's some people that just don't really think well, and by wanting to just give a shout out to your grandparents, or you put half the peloton down. There's some riders whose race is finished today because of that. There's some riders who will suffer for the next 7, 8, 10 days because of that. There's some riders whose entire season was based on the Tour de France. And because of that stupid banner and that stupid person, their season has reached their endpoint. And I do find this absolutely disgusting. I think there should be some sort of not of a police, but the spectators on the side of the road, right, should see this person, and they should probably take care of it by just, just removing them from the equation. But it's a very, very sad thing. This has made me sad more than angry. I think my first reaction was being angry, but I just find it sad. I just find it sad because there's a lot of consequences of an act that people didn't necessarily think about. Moving on to tomorrow's stage though, and we have, as I just mentioned, quite a similar profile between Perros-Guirec and the Mur de Bretagne. Very famous climb, obviously, in the Tour de France. But yeah, quite similar. You'll have a few KOMs across the 183 kilometers. And then in the final 20-25 kilometers is where the race will actually switch gears and become a bit more aggressive, a bit tougher as you'll cross the Mur de Bretagne, not once but twice. Once 21k from the line, and then in the obviously final of the stage, can Julian Alaphilippe make it 2 for 2? I'm not sure. Mur de Bretagne, a tough climb, 2 kilometers, 2.2 kilometers to be precise, an average gradient of just below 7%, but with the first kilometer above 10%. Quite similar, as I said, to today's climb in Landerneau, but with less of a flat portion in after the steep one, meaning that technically it should suit the sprinters less than it did today. And today one rider defeated everyone in Julian Alaphilippe. He didn't wait for the sprint. And if he could do that in Landerneau, well, I'm going to back him for the back-to-back today. Julian Alaphilippe will win in the yellow jersey in Mur de Bretagne, make it 2-2 for the Conan Quick-Step and the Wolfpack. He's going to win ahead of Mathieu Van Der Poel, and in third place will be Tadej Pogacar, making it 4 seconds with Primož Roglič trying to get level with the Slovenian. I think he's the strongest rider on this type of climbs. I think tomorrow's climb suits him more than today's, and today he had no match. I don't see why he couldn't win tomorrow. I don't have Joe's full predictions, however, I do have his winner. He's currently already 1-0 down. Am I going to make it 2-0? Am I going to make it still 1-1? Is he going to equalize? I don't know. But he's picked Primož Roglič for tomorrow's stage in Mur de Bretagne. Get his win on the Tour de France. Nevertheless, this is where we're going to wrap up this episode. I do hope you've enjoyed it. I do hope you've enjoyed, me being on my own. I know the dynamic is slightly different. I know there's not the chemistry I have with Joe. It's obviously because I'm on my own. I can't talk to someone else. But I do hope you still enjoyed it. Make sure to follow the Ascent Cycling Podcast on all of the streaming platforms, or on YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, then make sure that you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a like down below if you've enjoyed. Make sure to follow Joe and I on our respective social medias, as well as we're very active on Twitter during the race. And I mean, I will see you tomorrow. Hopefully Joe will be there. I'm not so sure. We'll see. But my name is Guillaume. This has been the Ascent Cycling Podcast Daily Recap number 1. Have an amazing day.